Welcome to the Tragedy Academy, a show created to bridge societal divides in a judgment-free zone using candor and humor. My name is Jay, and today we are joined by Krishnni Khanna. She is from India, immigrated in, I believe, 2017. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
2017, currently in high school, but she's an author and a TEDx speaker on mental health, wellness, and teens, preteens, and people going through those stages in their development. And I'm super excited to have you on.
Excited to be here.
I did buy your book. I did read your book.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I'm excited to talk about it. That's why I went straight to asking about Veda, because I was like, hold on a minute. This is such a great story. And I didn't know if you had a nickname that you were going by at any point. So amazing to have you here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So hi, my name is Krishnni. I'm currently 16 years old, about to be 17 soon. I'm a rising senior in high school. As mentioned, I was born and raised in India for the first 10 years of my life. I immigrated to the United States when I was 10 years old. I initially lived in California for 2 years, and I've been in Texas since 7th grade.
All right. Well, that's a very abridged version for what is a complicated story for a child to go through at an age of 10 years old, right?
Yeah.
You wrote pretty extensively in your book about what it's like to immigrate into the United States as a young child. Do you want to tell us what that feels like, knowing that you're going to be leaving where you have spent your entire life, where your roots are and your culture, and what it's like to come to the U.S.? My in-laws are both immigrants. They're from Colombia and from Italy. And it's very near and dear to our heart, you know, immigration and people being able to be accepted all over the world. And I think that there's the fact that we are a melting pot and a lot of people are coming here for opportunity. There's going to be a lot of people that this will resonate with, right? So please tell us what that was like.
I moved around a bit in India itself. Like I moved schools a couple of times, but I pretty much lived in the same location. So I was around the same friends. My family was very close by, so we'd visit them every couple of months. And I was just very used to being around the same people for so long. And when my dad, we moved to the US because my dad received a job promotion. And it was heartbreaking, to say the least, because I used to be very friend and family oriented as a kid. And since I grew up with the same people, like I was so comfortable there, and we didn't know anything about the United States. Like we didn't know anybody. We didn't know what the culture was going to be like. The only way I knew anything about America was just by watching YouTube videos or watching, Disney movies. Yeah. So it was hard. I remember trying to beg my dad, to not take the job promotion so we could stay here. But the other reason was for a better education, since the American college system is good. And that was one of the other reasons why we moved. But overall, it was very difficult. I remember spending almost every day with my friends. I had to, I discontinued school during the last few months of me being in India, since there was no point, right? Since I'm going to start 5th grade. Right. It was a really hard pill to swallow. But at the same time, I was very excited to move to America because, I used to, the videos I used to see on YouTube, like Target really fascinated me because I used to watch since I was 6 or 7, I used to watch those. I don't know if you know the toy review videos.
Absolutely.
Review toys, or they played with toys.
I'm a child, by the way. Just feel free acting like a kid, because I'm a kid. We're good. Okay. So I used to really like those videos, and I used to tell my dad to bring me some toys whenever he would travel to the US. So that was one thing I was looking forward to. And as a kid, I used to be very optimistic. So even though it was very difficult to leave my friends and family, and I spent as much time as I could with them, I was excited because, the allure of something new, toys, and all the things that you'd seen on TV.
Yeah, and my dad promised that I could get a pink room, and pink used to be my favorite color. So, just these minor things that I made me feel better about moving.
They're offsets, mental offsets. We do justifications in our mind, little micro movements to give ourselves comfortability in moments that we feel uncomfortable with change. So it's completely understandable that you did replace those things, mentally for the time being. I'm sure you could also say that during that time, or once you had made it there, the toys would never fill the void of friendships, culture, and anywhere near what it was like where you came from.
Yeah. I actually still have a lot of the toys that I bought when I first came here, because I used to go to Target almost every day when I first moved here, and they're still on my shelf.
I love that, though. They have meaning to you because they brought you comfort in a time where you were in a new location, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you had parents that were able to recognize that you needed assistance through that change and gave you really good guidance. So your book, I believe, is titled "I Am Not Who You See."
Yeah.
And I did read it, and I got to tell you, I believe that it is a very good book for people your age to read, to get an understanding for the human dynamic and reality and how we process things around us. And I would also like to say that it is important for adults to read it, because it is extremely advanced in your perception of reality and how you construct what your self-worth is, right? And I say that because when I read through it, it might as well have been hitting notes in my symphony. Like, you could have played different notes throughout the chords of my life and they rang exactly the same. When you moved, I could feel the pain of when I've moved. When somebody said, shut up, right? I know what that feels like because I was a loudmouth. And I know that everybody has their own version of these things. So know that you really are affecting change from the beginning, right here and now. And I think that people should read your book and should take your wisdom to heart, because it'll give them a chance to see what kind of tools they have in their toolbox from the interactions that they had in their childhood that they managed. You took all of those negative interactions and you turned them into tools. Right? At an early age, they allowed you to see the fallacies and see what you were constructing yourself out of. And now you can help others with it. I give you, lots of accolades for that. And I appreciate you for doing it.
Thank you.
If you could talk to Veda from the outside, if you were looking at Veda from the outside in, and you could have been that friend from inside of her, what would you tell her to help her get through all of those changes in schools and relationship dynamics and friendships and school hierarchies and all the garbage that goes with it?
I mean, from my own experience, since Veda's story is derived from mine, I mean, it was very difficult. Like, I came into the United States. I mean, I was nervous, but I was more optimistic. And to move and go to my first elementary school or school in America, and to have that like absolutely crushed. I mean, it was hard. Like, the only thing I would suggest to Veda was like I think there was a part in the book where she, implied that she stopped telling her parents about what she was going through, since, she was like, I'm growing older now and I can't depend on them all the time. So, like, there was no outlet for Veda to, I guess, get those emotions out or to be even able to process them. I think one thing I would suggest or advise to her would be to let it out. Like, I mean, I know there's a lot of people who don't feel comfortable talking about, these types of things. Like, some people are uncomfortable accepting their emotions. And I'm also like that. I mean, like, when I started writing the book, I was really hesitant. I was like, I'm not sure if I want my experiences to be out there. But then writing the book was also my way, and using Veda was my way of understanding my experiences as well. So I think letting it out, whether it's talking to somebody or writing your emotions out, can help you understand them. But also, it just feels good to not like keep it bottled up inside.
You're not wrong. There has to be an outlet. Otherwise, it's kind of like a tea kettle. If you allow everything to build up inside, it's going to come out eventually, but it's not going to be how you want it to, right? Or not in a way that's going to be constructive, right? So that's extremely intelligent way to approach that scenario, and making sure that you have a clear mind and that you understand what's going on. So I like that you're giving the advice of finding the outlet, right? And I love that your generation is one that advocates for mental health, right? And recognizes that there is comfort in camaraderie. I think that there's strength in vulnerability, and it also allows people to step off of the curb that they think is a cliff, right? The moment that we tell each other how dark it seems in our mind, that's the moment we realize that everybody's in that situation because we shared. Right. I like to look at, have you ever watched old movie sets? Like when they portray them, it usually looks like a fake building and there's just sticks behind it, right? There's like a door and you drive through, right? That to me is what America looks like, right? It's one way in front, but nothing behind it, right? So everybody puts a false front up of strength, or that they're in a good place, or that things are not bothering them, or that their familial structure is not strained, or whatever it might be. They walk out the front door, they say, hey, Bob, hey, Sarah, right? And then they move on with their day. But behind that door is what we're discussing, right? And giving children a voice early on is extremely important. You're wise beyond your years, right?
Thank you.
And from the child that was told to shut up and was shunned for being overactive and hyper and wanting to interact with people and just enjoy the human experience, that was me. And I can tell you, it's not okay to hold that stuff in until you're older and think that you're not worthy of being your true self. Right? And when anybody stops your inauthenticity, it's just a question about their own and whether or not they feel that they can pull it off. They're mad because they're not doing what you're doing. You're comfortable in yourself. And I stopped talking for a long time. I stopped being who I am, right? And you've jumped that hurdle very early, right? In knowing who you are, at least at this point in time, right? So if you had spoken to yourself, you said something during your TED Talk about the things that people said being tattooed into your mind. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. It was I think towards
the beautiful metaphor and analogy.
Thank you.
I love it. Can you explain what you mean about taking the words of other people and tattooing them into your brain? How is that done?
I mean, from my experience, like this was mainly in 6th grade. In 5th grade, I didn't really have any friends. Mm-hmm. So my classmates, I would kind of just notice them, their demeanor and their attitude towards me being like I'm smaller than them or inferior. And I would just hear things around, like overhear them mocking how I'm talking, because at the time I didn't have like the American accent. I had an Indian accent. And I was the only immigrant in the class. Mm-hmm. And then in 6th grade, I made friends, but they ended up being really not friends. They were just, toxic is the best way to put it. And that was mainly where the tattooing their words in the brain part comes in, because like almost every time I would open my mouth about something or end up going on a ramble or, being excited about something, almost every day I heard, just like shut up or, be quiet, or like, why are you talking so much? And, I used to keep telling myself that, oh, these are my friends. They're not trying to hurt me. They're just being honest. Maybe I am talking too much. But I didn't understand why, even if I kept telling myself that, it slowly started to affect me, their words. And I realized that, because I was hearing it every day and I was so used to hearing it maybe even a couple times a day that those words had kind of become a part of me for a while. I mean, even now, sometimes when I'm talking too much or I'm like, telling my friends about something that happened or, just something in general, like, I keep hearing like, oh, I keep in my head, I'm just thinking like, oh, well, I might be talking too much and then I end up apologizing for it. So, I mean, even after doing a TEDx, writing a book, like it's still there.
It's there. I still do it every day. There are moments in time where I'm like, am I being overbearing? Am I talking too much?
Yeah.
Is this what they were talking about? Maybe they were right. Maybe the people around me right now are just being nice and they're accepting that I'm doing this, even though I really am not that, I am that loud and I do talk that much. And it's a circle, it's a cycle, it's a wheel, right? I think that at the juncture that you're at, some people will create what I call a mask, right?
Yeah.
And that mask becomes a new character, right? It's the character that now does not speak out. The character that minds their dialogue and their interactions with people and starts to create this new persona, right? And then what'll happen is they'll take that new persona into the next one and create another one and another one and another one for all these situations to feel what? Accepted, right? But the acceptance only needs to come from within. Yeah. Once you love yourself, other people will start to love you, right? And that's the opposite of that tattoo. It's almost like getting a chance to go back and do some laser, not removal, but I think make it transparent. That it's there, it's translucent, you can see through it, but you respect the fact that it happened because it made you a better person in the long run.
Yeah.
Right? So how does one find a way to recognize that their brain is being tattooed? Because that requires mindfulness, right? And self-awareness. Can you explain how that happens?
I mean, for me, it took I think 3 years after moving. I was only able to grasp what happened after I moved because I was away from the situation itself. So I could kind of see it from the outside in a way. Mm-hmm. But when I was in the situation itself, I wasn't able to process, why am I feeling like this? What's happening? Maybe my classmates and quote unquote friends are right. So, I mean, one thing is to look at the big picture, either by moving away from the situation and analyzing it. But I know that a lot of people don't have that.
The observer role is hard to take because you become very invested in your narrative.
Yeah, that. And also not everyone has the opportunity or some people just aren't fortunate enough to step away from their situations, maybe.
It's possible. I find that a lot of times that's you're a willing participant in the ignorance in that situation. It's just out of self-preservation. The ostrich keeps its head in the sand, maybe because the sun, they don't want to be seen by other people or they just want to look the same.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I was fortunate enough to be able to move and see what happened. But I think if I stayed there, I think I would have still been putting up with them for probably a long time. It was only when I moved away and I told my parents about my experiences, maybe after 2 years, I think 8th grade, mid-COVID, I guess. So I think that also helped me clear my head about it. And that's usually you need some sort of clarity in order for that tattoo in your brain to start becoming translucent. You first have to acknowledge what happened and accept how you feel about it. And it's a hard pill to swallow. I mean, I'm not someone who's very comfortable with feeling stuff or talking about my feelings. Even now, I'll explain what happened, but I won't go too much in depth about that. But I mean, if you can't accept or express it to other people yet, the first thing you need to do is know how you're feeling and just accept that it is what it is. Because I don't think any feeling that you have is wrong per se. You just feel how you feel to whatever degree, because everyone feels and processes stuff differently. So
there's an infinite number of feelings to choose from, and the key word in that is choose. And I think that once you realize that you're a willing participant and the pain that you decide has a target when it's given to you from other people, that's the reality that you will live in, right?
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the future, right? You've now figured out that you want to be a mathematician. I mean, psychologist. I'm joking. I know you were like, wait, I know that you're not a fan of math.
Neither is Veda.
What's that?
Neither is Veda.
Yeah, that's what I gleaned that from the book, that math was not something that you loved doing.
No, even now.
So it was psychiatrist or psychologist, right? Is what you really wanted to be back. Okay. So you're now in a position where you've had some influence and you're seeing your hard work affect change in others. And it's now being seen and it's reverberating. It's like throwing a rock in a pond, right? It'll ripple forever and it'll continue to help people. What is the next step for you? How do you want to move forward from this? How can you make this a greater impact?
I mean, in terms of this, my immigration experience, to be honest, I would like to close that chapter because
absolutely. I mean, your future from now as in whatever mental health related field or speaking field or whatever that might be.
Well, first going to college, I want to keep studying. I have been considering maybe writing another book soon, maybe once after I'd finish like my college applications, since that's coming up soon. I mean, maybe writing another book. I might expand my, I like to call it a student-led movement / organization. I started it in 2022 called Detox of Mind, or Detox for short. Mm-hmm. I might consider expanding that or rebranding that into something more psychology related.
I do love that you have such a plethora of information and people contributing to it. It's not just the the musings of one person. You're actually using a lot of different tools and allowing people to contribute. So for those of you out there, what she's saying is truly accurate. It's a great platform to get understanding for yourself. So that's honestly what I was asking, where the passion lies now, what it is that you see yourself doing going forward so that you can continue making ripples. And it sounds like college obviously is your first step.
Yeah. Psychology or neuroscience.
Oh, neuroscience. What interests you about neuroscience? Because things are changing quick right now. I
mean, the brain, this whole, my experiences and all that, like, even now after 7 years, like I keep, learning new things about, or learning or seeing new perspectives in my experience. Like in my TEDx talk, I'd speak about the repetition aspect of it, like how the words got ingrained in my head. That was a new perspective I learned as I was writing the talk itself. Yep. So, I mean, I guess in general, what I'm trying to say is like the brain in general is just very interesting to me. I would want to study the sciencey aspect of it at the same time, the thoughts and feelings aspect of it. So probably a blend of both psychology and neuroscience is very interesting to me.
I think they're one and the same. I think to ignore the other is to just leave an entire plethora of information on the wayside.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I believe the quote was, repetition has been accepted as a replacement for evidence.
Yes.
I thought that was extremely poignant. When I read it, or when you said it, I was like, that's exactly right. It's that self-talk, that negative repetition and thought process that creates that new mask, that new persona, that person. I think that is something that we could all take notes from. So you're in Texas now, correct?
Yes.
16-year-old in high school, right? What does friendship dynamic look like now?
So when I first moved in 7th grade, I mean, my mindset had completely taken like a 180. When I first moved to the US, I was so optimistic. I was like, I'm going to make friends. I'm going to get all the toys I want, all that. And then 7th grade, I was kind of just trying to be so nonchalant and cold. Because I guess I was like in 7th grade, thought being edgy was cool. And also I was, under all that, I was just scared to make friends again.
Right.
I thought that, even though my accent had kind of adapted to the way people talk here.
Right.
It had become a weird mix of like my Indian accent and then the accent here.
But that's your flavor.
Yeah. But like people didn't take it well.
Oh, I understand. I get what you mean.
I mean, I didn't know if they would do that in Texas.
I live in Florida, so I completely understand. There's a lot of backwards and bigoted thinking around immigrants and, people with accents or bilingual people.
Yeah.
So I completely understand what you're saying.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was very hesitant to make friends. But I mean, in terms of how friendship looks now, I'm doing well. I mean, there are some ups and downs here and there. I mean, because like everyone keeps doing stupid stuff in high school, including me.
Dude, I'm doing stupid stuff today. Like,
I mean, yeah, so
it's going to be a
like,
lifetime of stupid stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've lost a few friends, but I've maintained very good, strong friendships. I have a friend that I made in 7th grade, and we're still friends now.
Oh, that's awesome.
I have a couple of friends I've known for a couple of years. And I mean, some of my friends come and go, but I don't really see it as a loss. I just see it as, what could I have learned? What did I learn from that friendship that I can do better towards the friendships that I have now? Or like, how can I use the learnings that I learned from mistakes I made with other people to improve the friendships I have now? But overall, my friendships are good. Like, I'm pretty happy. I don't have a lot because I'm not very like open.
There's no need.
I'm quite selective, I guess.
It's like a radio frequency. You keep yourself dialed in on one, and the people that like your music will come to you.
Yeah. And also just, I guess that's also partially me still trying to shield myself, but I'm also not that extroverted either. So but the close circle of friends that I have, like, I'm very happy and I'm very grateful to have them. So yeah, I just hope that that my friendship with them continues. And even when I go to college, like, this pattern continues of me finding good people.
I think it will. When you pursue good things, you attract good people, right? That becomes your new tribe, so to speak. The people that are attracted to change in a positive manner, in loving relationships, or accepting, right? Accepting people for who they are in the moment and not judging. I like to point out a metaphor for being able to see things through someone else's eyes. And you had brought up earlier that you had a limited amount of experiences, but in your experiences, this is how you see things. And that's a brilliant observation because we all are comprised of glasses, right? They're lenses that are compiled over time based on the experiences that we go through. And just like at a table, when somebody says, oh, how are your glasses versus mine? And you exchange them, no two people are going to see the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to have to take them at what? Face value, right? So I believe that your generation is in a unique position to understand in advance that they do or are wearing glasses, that they're actually wearing glasses and that they're being created over time, and that the people older than them, they don't know. A lot of them do not know because we weren't afforded the same opportunities with knowledge. We had the Dewey Decimal System. You guys have Google, right? So the ability to recognize these scenarios are becoming much more prevalent for you guys. Mm-hmm. But I do believe that now that we are opening the dialogue between generations about how we've become who we are as a society, it's up to us to take, say, our Gen X glasses, right, and share them with Gen Z and say, hey, look, I've got a set of lenses you can look through because you need wisdom, right? All the intent in the world to do good things still requires some kind of direction. Right. And I think the onus is on us as a generation to help you with seeing where the effects of your change can be felt the most. Right. And I would like to see where you go to next. I'm excited. I want to see the next book. I want to see where you're speaking 10 years from now, because I don't think you're done with TEDx. I think you've got a lot of things going.
I've been doing competitive speech, like since 5th grade, I think. And I like in India, I used to be in theater and choir, and I used to
love that.
do all that on stage. So, I mean,
well, you like to sing too.
I stall. I actually I think one of the experiences in the book Veda was like singing on stage in front of. I haven't sung since that happened. Like in my life,
You need
something
to.
similar.
I'm going to explain to you what happens. You're denying the world of your authentic fingerprint. Everybody deserves to hear you, right?
Yeah.
I had music talents that I didn't touch. Singing, things like that. I kept them all under wraps, just like you're explaining to me. I didn't want to go in front of anybody. I was told to shut up. I was, whatever it is. The insecurities of others were pressed on me. But the onus is on you to be as authentic as you possibly can every day, right? To be the best person that you know how to be. And the best person you know how to be is going to be inclusive of your talents, your arts, your special capabilities that are unique to you, right?
Yeah.
You're a puzzle piece unto yourself. If society were a puzzle, you can't put someone in a spot by bending a corner, right? Because then the piece doesn't fit, or you can't force it into another space because that's not where it belongs, right? I think that you probably will find even more passion if you do foster that in some way. I'm not saying you have to do it in front of people.
Yeah.
Sing in the bathroom, but sing. Singing is the important part. Doesn't have to be for others.
Yeah.
But sing for your soul. You know what I mean?
I mean, I do like alone. I just meant in front of people, like just kind of stopped. I also just don't enjoy it anymore generally. Like, but in terms of just like talking and like the whole shut up thing, I mean, like I like to talk, and it's kind of just become like my biggest
I embrace
weapon, or like just the main reason why I'm able to do so much right now.
Well, you're going to end up with a podcast.
I do want to start one. I've been thinking about it.
I think that you would be excellent at it. I think you'd be a great interviewer. I think you could get some really cool guests on there that are your age or adults, so that we can understand what it is to navigate your experience. Because I got to tell you, I didn't grow up with a slot machine going by of good, bad, angry, sad social media posts over and over again and have to process that emotion with my brain in microseconds, right? Just over and over again. We didn't grow up that way. Our self-worth didn't come from those locations. And if we think we know what you're feeling, we're damn wrong. Right? Excuse my language. But we are.
No, it's fine.
We are wrong if we think we understand it. We need you to explain to us how it's making you feel at a young age. So if you can bring people together and discuss things and have open dialogue about what it is to be your age and coming through all of these different forms of information that we consume and how society is morphing over time and allowing us to have a look into what we can do to help, right? Open dialogue, not judge kids. What'd you say? The Riz? Your Riz? What? What's a Riz? Or other weird stuff. I get making fun of kids. Because once you get to your age, you're not going to have fun anymore. So you got to say that ours was better than theirs. You're going to find out later. Because we're not going to have it again. Of course, we're going to love what we went through. But I think your generation is amazing. I think that you guys are going to put the brakes on what had good intentions, right? Hindsight is 2020, right? So we have a chance to give you a playing field now with the understandings that we have at a much more rapid pace. So where can everybody find you? Let's talk about, you have a giveaway that you wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I want to give you a chance to talk about that, what they can get and how they can get it. And then we'll go from there.
So in terms of finding me, you can find me on LinkedIn at Krishnni Khanna. You can also find me on Instagram at Krishnni Khanna. And if you want to buy my book, I'm Not Who You See, you can find that on Amazon, or for the giveaway, if you go to my website, which is also Krishnni Khanna at KrishniKhanna.com. If you go to the contact tab and you type in your name, your email, and the subject, write the name of this podcast, The Tragedy Academy, and then give your name and mailing address, And the first 3 people who send an email can get a signed copy of the book.
That's awesome. I can't recommend that book enough. It really
Thank
felt
you.
like I was walking through the same situations that I've been through. And I think that adults would benefit from seeing or remembering what it was like, because we do forget. We forget how important those interactions are, even though they're just in school or they're not adult interactions. So you shouldn't feel that bad, or it's not permanent. Wait till you get older or whatever it might be. But those are the defining moments.
Yeah, but you don't necessarily have to be, I guess, a child in school to experience like the isolation, shame, like the ostracization that I went through. Like, I mean, while I was writing my book, I did let some like either relatives or some of my old teachers read them, and a lot of them like told me like they experienced things like that either like years ago or recently, and I realized like even yesterday, maybe as close as yesterday, but that made me realize that, I mean, like that motivated me to write my book more, even if I'm not someone who's generally comfortable expressing myself or talking about like my personal experiences to that many people. I realized that I'm not alone and no one should feel as alone as I did when I was going through it. Mm-hmm. So that's what kind of pushed me to finish the book and release it, and also give the TEDx talk, because like even if my story doesn't, I mean, best case scenario, people feel motivated to improve their situations and get like, heal through them, or at least take a step. At least I hope that whatever I've done can give someone, make someone feel less alone with their own struggles.
I absolutely love that. And I think that you're demonstrating a great way to vent and heal from wounds when you sit down and find your creative outlet, i.e. writing and speaking, like yourself. You're very good at it. And if that's your art, if that's your true talent, I think that you're expressing it in a great way, because it's allowing you to grow and heal at the same time. So I encourage other people, they don't have to have your specific talent to have that outlet. You can find things that will give you a release from those tightly wound, thoughts and feelings that you accumulate from those around you, those identities, right? If you can find your outlet where you can be authentic, the people that you should be spending your time with should be people that accept you unconditionally. And you should be acting like yourself, uninhibited at all times. Does 2 things. 1, it brings the people to you that love being around you. 2, it filters out the people you don't want around. It's not a matter of being liked or disliked by other people. It's a matter of knowing whether they're worth wasting the time on at this point in life. They may be a different person later, right? But in that moment, you don't have to engage. You can pick and choose based on who you're being in that moment. I want to thank you.
Thank you.
I genuinely appreciate you coming on the show. I think that you're now our youngest Academy professor here.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. It's not often that we get a chance, and I think we're going to do it more. I've just got to act mature. I'm less mature when I have adults on here. I feel like I have to mind my P's and Q's.
I heard some of the recordings before. I watched some of them, so I could like.
Don't tell your parents, because I have bad language.
It's okay. I'm kind of used to hearing like worse in school and saying worse in school.
I get it. And I think that it kind of comes down to intent, right? If you're using those words to take the power away from things that are societally structured, I like to make things that are supposed to be professional or super important, I like to take the power away from them by making them nonsensical and open to discussion. People put reverence. I do that.
I try to poke. I poke fun at like stuff that happens to me just because it's easier. Like even when most of the time, like I'm talking about these things and I'm so serious, like in my mind, I'm like,
because everybody else does.
Everybody else does. It's also, it just makes it easier for me to talk about it, I think, because I'm not the type of person who likes to be very emotional when I'm talking about things. So I guess just like poking fun or like.
You were passionate in your TEDx. You could
Yeah, I
see
know,
the
but like
moments.
the emotion was like, it was all like, I've done speech for so long. It's kind of just a habit that when I'm talking about happy things, I seem super happy. When I'm talking about very painful stuff, I seem super painful. But like if I was just casually talking, I would not have been like borderline on tears. It's kind of just on command.
Certain
Yeah.
amount of voice acting. Right?
Yeah.
It's you have to, though, to convey your message. And sadly enough, there's going to be times where it's hard to convey that message because we don't feel
Yeah.
like conveying it. We feel
Yeah.
like garbage. We're like, no, I don't even believe myself today. Right? I don't feel
Yeah.
like doing this, but I'm going to get up here. And then the beauty of repeating things that are good
Yeah.
or that are affecting change is that if you do it over and over again, you get to feel the benefits from it. Because I'm
Yeah.
sure even if you went into speech today and you had to give that speech, you would probably not feel like doing it because you've done it so many times or for whatever
Yeah.
reason. However, with a different set of people in front of you and at the completion of it, I bet you feel great at the eyes looking back at you that have received this information and could benefit from it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like going to the gym. Like we don't want to go, but when we do, we feel great after we leave.
Yeah.
We're happy we did it, but it's a pain getting there.
Yeah. I think starting is usually the hardest part or getting started. But I think even with like healing from things or just like even as simple as like a school assignment, like starting's difficult. But once you do it, like you can, like it just feels so fulfilling to actually finish what you start.
It really does. There's a sense of accomplishment and it gives you a drive for future tasks or future missions that you want to, tackle. So I like that. Whenever I can put a notch in my belt, which are rare because I have ADHD. So I have like
Me too.
1,000 2/3 completed things.
Yeah.
I am close to an expert in so many things, but not completely because
Jack of
I've
all
quit
trades.
and moved on.
I'm the same. I have ADD, not ADHD, but same thing. Like I'm I'm going to start writing a book right now. I start writing like 5 and like I have like half a page for each of them and they're all completely different. But yeah, like same here.
ADHD is a real thing and it's not what people think it is if they don't have it.
Yeah. People just think it's like I've seen people make memes all about it on Facebook or like Instagram or TikTok. I don't know if you've seen people like trying to display like act like they have ADHD, but it's like
ADHD
they make it seem like I'm
crippling.
talking to somebody and if I see a bird I'm gonna get distracted immediately. That's not how it works.
They go to that movie Up where they're like squirrel.
Oh
yeah. That's what they believe it is. That is not ADHD. ADHD is a cyclical negative talk that will break you down to your core. It means that anybody that says anything will become reality for you if it's about you, and you will hold it as a core wound for the rest of your life. Right?
Yeah.
It's a horrifying and debilitating thing to have to go through. But if you're authentic and accepted with your ADHD, right? And you embrace the talents that come with it, right? ADHD also has a hyper vigilant side superpower.
Yeah.
Right? And that side superpower is you can read the mess out of everybody. You know when people are being truthful, not truthful. Even if you don't know exactly what it is, you know if they're being true to what they're saying to you or how they're portraying themselves, right? And that can be painful. It can be very painful because most people aren't being themselves. Yeah. They're acting. And ADD or neurodivergent people can see the mask that people don't even know they're wearing.
Yeah, I think in that case, like, I think things like, being neurodivergent or ADHD or ADD or, whatever, like.
Yeah, the term of the day.
Yeah. I think people see things like that as a weakness. Even things like, for example, me talking a lot or like I'm very lazy. I get scolded for it almost all the time. But I think that even if people see it as something you're suffering from or, like it's a weakness, it's like, no, I'm not suffering from anything. I just have it. It depends on how like people decide to use their weaknesses. Like because I'm lazy, I kind of trick myself into doing things faster, because I'm lazy. So I don't want to take a lot of time, right? So that kind of like the laziness becomes efficiency.
Do you do the inner dialogues? Do you race yourself and things like that?
It's like, I don't know if you've done this like as a kid or not, but like if I'm downstairs, I'm turning off the light. I think like, okay, something's gonna chase me and I'm gonna die. So I need to get up the stairs at the same before the lights turn off.
I think that you're not wrong at all. You're 100% right. And I think that we try to find dopamine chords. If you had a guitar, we look for spots on that guitar to get artificial dopamine from. We don't have that baseline dopamine, so we want to have that experience where we're motivated to do what we're going to do. Like when I was a kid folding clothes, I would fold them, but be racing against other people folding clothes in my head. Like, oh, he's the best clothes. Look at him. He just turned that over this way and he put it over here. He's amazing. He's taking it. And this is all in my head because I don't want to be folding clothes. Actually, I think that that's like the number one enemy of people that are neurodivergent is clothes folding.
Yeah.
I don't know. At least for me, it is. I hate folding clothes.
Yeah, I hate doing chores in general.
Well,
so, I mean, like I relate to that. Like I usually I just shove clothes in my closet, to be honest. Like it's like, oh, I'm like, yeah.
You know, I'm not saying that I don't have my pile every now and then that should get completed. It gets tossed off to the side. My wife loves me for who I am through and through. So I get to walk around like a cartoon character 24/7 and kind of act like an idiot. But she embraces me for it, or embraces me despite it, however she wants to see it. She signed up to marry a philosophical cartoon. You have to find your people. Yeah. You absolutely do.
Another thing I want to add that I didn't get to mention earlier was one of the other things I learned was like, I mean, I knew this, but it didn't really sink in until I started going to high school because I'm very opinionated. Like, if I don't like someone, I don't act like I do. Or like, if they ask, I might end up like being a bit too honest about it, which I probably should work on, but no, that's not the point I'm trying to work on. That's not the point I'm trying to make. Like, because of the type of person I am, I realized that, I mean, people are going to dislike you no matter how you are.
You're right.
So I either like, I mean, that's one thing I learned from my experiences, but also just as my immigration experience, but also just growing up in general. That, I mean, even if you try to be a friend to all, I mean, like there's that one saying, right? Friend to all is a friend to none.
Interesting.
Like,
because you're not true friends with anybody if you're friend to all.
I also read this book that was called The Courage to be Disliked. I don't know if you know, it's a philosophy book. That's basically what I learned. Like, you need to have some bravery or courage to be disliked by other people. And I realized that if I want to be quote unquote liked more, like I might need to stop being myself. I might need to stop being less opinionated or less vocal about what I think of certain people or certain things. Or I can accept the fact that I'm going to be disliked and liked by few and,
you're 100% right. Just be yourself. Be empathetic. Be cognizant of what your target is at that moment or what ears might be, in the surrounding area. But for the most part, as long as you're not trying to hurt other people, then you shouldn't have to filter everything that you say.
Yeah.
Offense is taken, not given.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean,
it's always taken.
The main point I was trying to make is just, you can either choose to hide and be like, even if you hide yourself away, it's not guaranteed that you will be liked and accepted by all people. If that's what you're aiming to be. Also, it's not very fulfilling to be liked for someone you're not. So I think it's important that everyone, I mean, of course, this is easier said than done. I'm not going to act like I'm always authentic all the time. But
check your voice when you get on the phone. That'll tell you. How does your voice sound when you're talking to customer service? How does it sound when you're talking to your mom? How does it sound when you're talking to your friends? Those are all characters because your voice has a different intonation. You act different. You talk different. You carry yourself different in all those situations. I did see a TikTok where this woman was doing a desensitization drill, if you will. She was in New York City, in Manhattan, and she took a yoga mat. She laid it on the ground in the middle of where everybody was walking and laid down on it and just closed her eyes and did nothing. And she got to hear what everybody had to say about her sitting on the ground and being in the way and having to step over her and what an idiot, look at this person, all that stuff. But the reason why she did it is kind of what we're discussing here, in that it became nothing after a while to her. It became just background noise. It didn't have an impact after a certain amount of time. It just didn't matter what anybody was saying, right? And I think that there's something to be learned from that, is that if you don't give it a target, it's got nothing to cause pain, right? Or it's not going to cause you pain if you don't give it a target. Kind of like a bullfighter. Move to the side, let it go through. Know it's there, right? But you don't have to give it a target. Allow yourself to be, I don't know, like Teflon, if you will. Right?
Yeah.
You know, I want to be the guy that grilled cheeses slide off of. Right? I'm hungry. Sorry.
Yeah.
So do you have anything else that you'd like to put out before we wrap up today?
I don't think so now. I mean, my main point was just like main learnings or takeaways were just like, you know, if you want to be authentic to yourself, you need to accept the fact that other people may not, maybe, but
that's their problem.
To be like this, as I'll quote the book that I read, like, to be disliked is to be courageous, is what it said.
That's beautiful.
And that's like, I think the first and only time that I started to learn to accept that, you know, it's okay that, like, it's okay that being myself is a small sacrifice to make when it comes to being accepted by other people.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that also just emphasizes that books can make a difference to people. I hope the listeners or anyone who's read, who has gotten my book already, can be just as impacted. Like, anything in the book sticks.
I like empowered as well, because what you're doing is you're showing people that if they act on their authentic passions to give back, that they can also benefit from this, and they can help affect change in their own manner. Right?
Yeah.
So thank you so much. I genuinely appreciate you coming on, and
you're
welcome back anytime. Keep checking in with the show. I want to see how things are going for you. I got to see which school you chose, right? Do you have a specific school that you would love to go to over any other?
Not yet. I'm not really sure. I'm still reading through and just applying to some of the schools near my area, like UT Austin, for example. But I don't have a set school yet.
Okay.
Whatever, I guess. I just hope I get into a college that will, you know, just be good for me in terms of academics and my social life, but I don't have a set one yet.
Okay. Well, I hope you get the one that best fulfills your needs.
Thank you.
That's the best thing you can hope for, right?
Yeah.
Again, I appreciate you. And remember, everybody, be cool and keep learning.